The small voice that spoke up. Some people pass through life as quietly as a breeze. No one notices when they arrive, and no one cares when they leave. They work, live, and exist like a faint shadow among the millions of lights in an office building. But sometimes, it's precisely those quiet people who become the key turning point in an irreversible chain of change. The story of Daniel Moore is one such story, an ordinary office worker who made an extraordinary decision, daring to stand up amidst the shadows of power to ignite a flame of hope for justice and truth. Daniel was an administrative assistant at Winslow Corporation, a multinational company specializing in environmental technology, famous for its clean energy projects. From his very first day, Daniel was always the first to arrive and the last to leave. He never missed a deadline, never had to be reminded by his boss. But he was also the kind of person whose name colleagues often forgot, because he never joined office parties, never chatted much, always quietly focused on documents, spreadsheets, and his old computer. He lived a steady and safe life, with minimal friction or trouble, until the day he accidentally opened the wrong file. That day, while reviewing documents for an internal audit, Daniel mistakenly opened a folder titled Research Log Final. According to company policy, he wasn't authorized to access it. But due to a security loophole, a single click opened the door to a discovery that would shake him to the core. Inside were a series of reports on the Green Horizon project, a venture celebrated in the media as a national pride in renewable energy. But instead of transparent data, Daniel uncovered layers of fraud, inflated equipment prices, falsified environmental metrics, and worst of all, hazardous waste illegally buried rather than properly treated. The final approver on every document was Mr. Alan Ward, the regional executive director, a man revered and considered the symbol of integrity. At first, Daniel thought he must have made a mistake, but after hours of cross-referencing data and tracing document sources, the truth stood out as clear as sunlight. He couldn't unsee it, but he also knew, if he chose to speak up, his life would never be the same. Daniel spent many sleepless nights. He stared at the late office lights, thinking about the residents living near the waste disposal site, people who might be suffering because of the company's silence. He remembered the code of ethics he had read when he joined the firm, words that once seemed hollow, but now rang like church bells in his conscience. In the end, he chose to act. No one teaches you how to be a whistleblower. Daniel taught himself how to encrypt files, how to reach secure reporting channels, how to contact an international whistleblower protection organization. But he didn't hide behind anonymity. In an email to the board of directors and the internal audit committee, Daniel attached all the evidence, identified himself as the source, and emphasized that he acted not out of defiance, but out of a desire to help the company, an organization he once trusted, return to its core values. The price came faster than he expected. Within 2 days, Daniel was suspended for unauthorized access to internal data. His company email was locked, his desk was cleared, and colleagues looked at him like a traitor. Some whispered that Daniel just wanted attention. Others avoided eye contact. No one spoke up because everyone was afraid of being dragged down. And Daniel alone stood under the weight of suspicion and internal memos accusing him of damaging the company's reputation. But he wasn't alone for long. News of the wrongdoing leaked through an investigative journalist who had been contacted by the whistleblower organization Daniel had reached out to. The story of the brave employee exposing the clean energy giant went viral. Public outcry exploded. The government was forced to launch a comprehensive investigation into the Green Horizon project. Preliminary findings confirmed many serious violations, just as Daniel had reported. Mr. Alan Ward was suspended pending investigation. A series of senior leaders were also held accountable. Winslow was forced to hold a press conference to apologize and commit to a complete overhaul of its internal processes. In that press conference, no one mentioned Daniel's name. He was still just a minor employee, living in a cramped rental apartment with no bonus, no recognition. But in the silence of the scandal, in the hearts of those who once doubted him, a new emotion began to grow: respect. One afternoon, a young employee sent Daniel a private email containing only a simple line: "Thank you. Because of you, I believe that truth still matters." Daniel read that message again and again, treating it as proof that his decision had not been in vain. Eventually, Daniel was invited back to work. This time, he was appointed to a newly created department for internal transparency oversight. He didn't change his lifestyle, still arriving early, leaving late, eating lunch alone, and avoiding small talk. But those who once looked down on him now fell silent as they passed him, not out of fear, but out of respect. One day, Daniel was invited to speak to a group of new interns. Standing in front of those eager young faces, he spoke in a calm but powerful voice. "I'm not a hero. I was scared, I hesitated, I wanted to pretend I saw nothing. But I realized if everyone is afraid, if everyone stays silent, then wrongdoing becomes the norm. The price of one silence can be an entire generation's destruction. I spoke up not because I was brave, but because I couldn't live with myself if I ignored it. You can choose the safe path, but if one day your conscience knocks, please don't turn it away." That quote was later added to the employee handbook as a reminder. And Daniel, once the overlooked shadow among countless workers at the company, became a silent symbol of courage. Not through grand gestures, but by making the one decision that mattered at the moment it was most needed. And if you are reading this, in a world where truth and lies often blur, among the noise of power and ethics, remember, truth needs protectors, justice needs voices, and you, no matter how small, can light up a whole room with the flame in your heart. Thank you for listening.